Hey guys, this is Charlotte, and you're watching Going In Raw.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Lars.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. The Go Home episode to Raw went down last night. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And of course, know that this week we got a pretty busy week coming up here because check it out. On Wednesday night, tomorrow night, we've got AEW recap live tomorrow night. Thursday, we've got The Numbers Don't Lie, exclusive to Friendo Club TV members. So patreon.com/Steven Larson at $5. You can vote right now on what you think of Kevin Nash's wrestling ability, his promo ability, what do you think his legacy's like, how you feel he stood up in kayfabe versus other wrestlers, and then watch us live on Thursday as we talk about that, give our own input, and then we decide definitively what number of a wrestler Kevin Nash is.
Correct.
In the Going In Raw math scale. And then on Friday night, we've got a Rampage watch along for the first dance. First dance is what they're calling it.
Yes, first dance.
Because CM Punk's going to be there.
Oh, 1,000%.
And it's very, very exciting. The AEW debut of CM Punk after, what has it been, 7-8 years away from wrestling?
More than 7 years, like 7.5 years.
Crazy. So, yeah, it's coming up. Yeah. And so that's crazy. And then afterwards, we'll be doing our recap of that and SmackDown. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday, of course, we'll be watching SummerSlam live and doing our recap of that. And then on Sunday, it's going to be a bit more kickback. We're just going to watch. We're going to watch TakeOver all together. Yeah. And that's going to be it. We're not going to recap it afterwards. We'll talk about that on Monday. Let's be honest. NXT is kind of it's kind of dying anyway. So
yeah, this might kind of be the swan song for NXT as we knew it. We got a raid here from Cultaholic. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, good. Did you see they had like an article written on them?
That's awesome. In, Forbes, wasn't it?
Like Forbes or something. Yeah, it was Forbes.
That's pretty cool.
What's pretty cool. What were you guys doing over at Cultaholic? Oh, it's Tuesday. So they had See You Next Tuesday on today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did they watch did Pacitti watch Numberjacks? Is he ever going to do that?
I don't think so. Oh,
and then Thursday night is the Smash Zone over here.
Yeah.
Where we watch a bunch of stuff. But we're not going to watch Numberjack. We're going to get Pacitti on the stream to watch Numberjacks.
Yes.
But anyways,
let's talk Raw. Oh, wow. I mean, you could have swapped this week's episode with last week's episode, and it kind of would have been more or less the same thing.
Yeah, it was literally just the same thing.
It was so much copy and paste. So much of it felt completely and totally inconsequential. Really, the only story beat that I can recall here of any consequence happening last night was RK Bro, after kind of not being a thing for, a week?
Yeah.
Or a thing again. That's it.
I didn't even know that it wasn't a thing because, like, literally, he RKO'd him, and everybody looked happy about it. Like, commentary was yelling, "Oh, RK Bro is back!"
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, Riddle looks happy. They all look fine and happy." And then hey, let's beat this thing in the ground. Randy Orton says, "Guess what? It's not a thing. Everybody wants to know why I RKO'd him." I was like, "Yeah, I thought it was out of affection. Isn't that what they do?" So
I don't know, but like the show opened the same exact way it opened last week with Randy, Riddle interrupting him, AJ and Omos after that.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of it was copy and paste. And this is like your go-home for what you want to be essentially Summer WrestleMania. I know WWE has a problem with go-home shows. They have for a long time. But, like, this is your last sales pitch to would-be viewers for this show.
Yeah.
And there's nothing compelling here, really, or very little less compelling.
Man, yeah, there's not a lot of great stories going into it. And like you said, they have not really had a great track record on, episodes leading into pay-per-views, the go-home episodes. You gotta wait for the pay-per-view and hopefully it'll be good. And that does suck. It sucks. But I don't know. It is what it is. I thought that, the bit where Randy sort of declared, "Hey, yeah, we're back." I thought that was pretty cute. That was pretty adorable.
Yeah.
Riddle is pretty damn over with that crowd, and I think that's going to continue to go. Who knows if Goldberg signs another contract? It wouldn't shock me necessarily if next year. Is there any chance, Larson, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? Goldberg versus Riddle next year at SummerSlam?
Yeah, I think that's a good chance. I don't know about SummerSlam, but at some point next year, yes, Goldberg versus Riddle. Yeah. Because I read a headline
only
today.
Going higher and higher.
I read a headline today. I don't remember where it's from exactly, where Goldberg said, I think I saw it somewhere on Twitter scrolling through, but it was like apparently, oh, here it is. It's on Fightful. This was the headline. Goldberg on Riddle. Sometimes he's a prick, but he has a passion for the business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's totally happening then. Okay. Yeah, Riddle's been sort of on this make good tour now where he made good with Seth Rollins because who knows, he might change brands. Who knows?
So this is from an interview with DAZN.
Okay.
This is what Goldberg said. The cocky kid spouting off his mouth in the beginning, and I didn't appreciate it very much by any stretch of the imagination, but the guy has put in a lot of freaking hard work, and a lot of hard work. And he's dedicated his life to this business. Whether I like him as a human or not, I have to understand, appreciate his passion for the business and his work ethic because he works hard, and that I appreciate as an athlete and as a human. Is he a prick sometimes? Absolutely, but that's him. That's his character, and so am I.
Like that Goldberg views his character as a prick. He's like basically a man-child.
I would not be shocked if that happens.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They made good. There's going to be video coming out afterwards on the .com or on some documentary or something.
After cool. SummerSlam, where Riddle walks up to Goldberg.
Yeah.
And Goldberg just kind of says, maybe slightly mockingly, but in character.
Yeah.
Hey, bro. And Riddle can.
And he'll be like, he'll be all freaking out about it. So yeah, it's clear that they do have something. Like Vince McMahon obviously likes Riddle, and he's figuring out that Riddle can connect with the crowd in a pretty big way. So it's kind of interesting to see. I kind of feel like last night and probably at SummerSlam are two moments you could look back, and next week rather, or this coming week at SummerSlam, are going to be two moments you're going to look back on because I feel like they're totally winning those tag titles.
Yeah, they are. Here's the thing too. Sorry, to say this real quick. I know we're still 5 months away from the Rumble, but you got to consider Riddle, as they do this Orton story right, as one of the front runners, at least on the Raw side of things, to win that Rumble. If they're a team up until Riddle wins that Rumble, and that's what starts splitting them up, and Riddle can have a really decent feud with Orton between the Rumble and Mania.
Yeah,
that's the way you build them up.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you could maybe, if you have a transitional champion, get that title on Orton leading into Mania, and you got Riddle versus Orton. Mm-hmm. I mean, given the reaction and given how much Vince obviously loves this whole story right now, that's totally plausible. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that works out, because I thought that stuff obviously was pretty strong, even though you're right. Like it was the exact same way they started off last week. But the whole moment where Riddle says, we're going to challenge you guys at SummerSlam, I thought it was pretty impressive. Like Riddle showing that he has that intensity. Mm-hmm. He's always had it in the ring.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he does the comedy stuff, which people really feel him as a character. Mm-hmm. They do. Mm-hmm. So they really have something going there. The crowd really is having a hard time feeling as a character. On the other hand, is Nikki A.S.H. You and I have both felt that given the right story, they could really do something killer with Nikki A.S.H.
Yeah, totally. This isn't the right story, though.
I still feel like she's going to retain at SummerSlam.
I think so, too. But I'm having a hard time really ascertaining what exactly the story they're telling is, because I feel like it's all week. I feel like it's literally segment to segment, week to week, It
is. Here's what I think the deal is. I think that they feel that Nikki is they're planning on her having this huge moment at SummerSlam where she overcomes the odds of both Rhea and and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and they're like, okay, does it really matter how we built that? We have to make sure that she doesn't look too weak, so they had her win against Charlotte.
But she can't look too strong either, because she took losses to both of them, yes.
Right. And the thing is, it's not really making her look anything,
Yeah.
And the crowd's over it, and what's hurting her really is, I feel, her cringy promos every single week that are the exact same thing. And with the exception, like this week, she had that moment where Charlotte was mocking her, and thank God they had Nikki act on that. I think if they're able to explore the fact that Nikki comes from being that sanity persona, and that can still come through sometimes, they'd have something good.
Yeah.
But they're incapable of understanding that.
Oh, totally.
They just finally released 2 merch shirts for her. So she's winning. She's going to win that match at SummerSlam because they want to try to get as much out of it. And maybe a big win like that, maybe that match alone will help turn people on her. But if she comes out the Raw afterwards and just gets in the middle of the ring and drops the promo about having confidence and even you could be almost a superhero, no, people are going to start booing that crap because it's so condescending and it's so disingenuous. I can't stand that stuff.
And it's the same thing we've heard for weeks on end. It's the same thing,
Absolutely, yeah. And I thought I guess we could just dive into it because the thing is, there's nothing else that stands out.
No.
I mean, we can talk about the Goldberg Lashley face-to-face really quick.
Yeah.
That's just standard go-home math is Goldberg stands tall, Lashley's going to win at SummerSlam.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's nothing terribly compelling about it. There's just not, at least from my perspective. So much of a lot of the story beats in terms of Goldberg kind of doing this for his son is similar to what they did with his feud with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And like I feel like MVP and Lashley are trying to make this feel like it's not just the outcome is already obvious to everybody because it is.
Yeah.
It's clear as day that Lashley's going to win.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that gives me pause about that is that Goldberg bringing his son into this. Is Goldberg at the last minute going to be like, hey, my son's out there. I got to win this. I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either. I mean, I understand that he could potentially renegotiate his deal, but his deal is for 2 matches a year, and this is the second match of the year.
Yeah, I'm still not going to put all my confidence points on Goldberg. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, on Lashley. Yeah. It'll be a high amount. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to put them all there because his son's there. And last time his son was there, that was the thing against Lesnar. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Lesnar beat him, right?
Yeah. After Goldberg beat him at Survivor Series, Lesnar beat him.
Right.
Mania, yeah.
At Mania, yeah. So I don't know, but I guess his son got to see him beat the Fiend, which is, I guess he got to see that.
Well, and Lesnar too before he lost to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lesnar, yeah, at Survivor, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but the Fiend was relatively recently. It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it seems like so long ago, but yeah, it was relatively recent.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. He's got a son out there. We'll see. We'll see on that one. Let's just go ahead and start this thing off. All right, let's take a quick break here to get a word in from our sponsor, ExpressVPN. Hey, Larson.
Yeah.
SummerSlam's almost upon us, which means hopefully all of the WWE Network content will finally be on Peacock, so we'll be able to watch all the same WWE content as our international friendos get to.
Yeah, that's great news. What isn't great is that so many other streaming services offer different content based on where you're located. For example, Netflix has thousands of shows, but we only get access to a fraction of them.
Ugh. Yeah, that's a bummer. But I have a solution for you. ExpressVPN. You see, ExpressVPN lets you change your online location so you can control where you want all those streaming services, Netflix included, to think you're located. Like the other day, I wanted to watch Pulp Fiction. But guess what? It's not on U.S. Netflix. But it is available on Canadian Netflix. All I got to do is open the app, select a location, hit connect, refresh your page, and bang, I got access.
That sounds pretty great. Also great are ExpressVPN speeds so you can stream in HD with no buffering. ExpressVPN is compatible with phones, laptops, smart TVs, and more, and it encrypts your data so you can surf the web securely.
So be smart. Stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/GIR.
Don't forget to use our link at expressvpn.com/GIR to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. And here's a word from the sponsor of today's show, BetterHelp. Several years ago, while dealing with severe anxiety, I had learned the importance of talking to a therapist, but also discovered that it can be extremely difficult to find the right person to talk to. Today, BetterHelp is providing a safe and private online environment where your needs will be assessed and you'll be matched with your own licensed personal therapist.
BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, nor is it self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online, all without having to ever sit in another uncomfortable waiting room.
BetterHelp is dedicated to facilitating great therapeutic matches. Send your counselor messages at any time or schedule regular weekly phone or video sessions. And they've made it free and easy to change therapists if needed.
And you don't have to limit yourself to counselors in your area. BetterHelp services are available worldwide, so you can find the expertise you need regardless of location.
We want you to start living a happier life today. As a Going In Raw listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/raw. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
Before we get back to the show, let's get a word from our sponsor, Craig. You know, Steve, I really feel like I want to take up a new hobby. I want to make stuff out of wood with these hands of mine, but I honestly have no idea where to start.
You want to get into woodworking, eh?
Yeah.
I was once like you, Larson, feeling the urge to craft something with these hands of mine, but unsure if I could do so. Then I got these hands on a Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro. Craig has been the innovator and leader in pocket hole joinery, setting the standard for 30 plus years. And now, if I got my Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro and a drill, I feel like I could build nearly anything, from bookcases to desks to outdoor patio furniture.
Really? I had no idea, Steve. Please tell me more. Tell me more, please.
I'll tell you more. See, pocket hole joinery is a way of creating fast, simple, and strong joints in a variety of wood projects. Like the Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro makes it easier than ever. You know me, Larson. I've never been terribly handy, and the thought of building something out of wood with these hands of mine seems like a pipe dream. But with the Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro, I could build pocket hole projects anytime, anywhere.
Wow. Question, though. Can you build me a bookcase?
No, Larson, because you can do it. Now anyone, even Larson, can easily create perfect and strong pocket hole joints with the Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro. It works with a wide variety and size of material and is great for building all types of indoor and outdoor wood projects.
The Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro comes with everything you need and retails for $99.99. It's available nationwide at Home Depot, Lowe's, and other home centers, woodworking, and hardware stores. Learn more at craigtool.com. That's KREG tool.com.
So yeah, Orton opens Raw, and by the way, my notes are pretty much cliff notes here. So he says, people have been asking why I hit Riddle with an RKO. They've been saying, hey, he just wanted to help. He wants to be your friend. He says, that's the problem, though. I don't need friends. Last week, I'd have beaten AJ Styles with or without Riddle. You guys need to remember I'm a 14-time world champion. I did that all by myself. I don't owe anyone anything. I don't owe anyone an explanation. I'm Randy Orton. I'm the Viper. I'm the Apex Predator. Monday Night Raw is still my territory, and I'm going to prove it to Omos. That man is not to be taken lightly. He's a monster. He is an undefeated force of nature, and I have it on good authority. He's also a bit of a jackass. He says, what a mess I've gotten myself into. Crowd starts chanting RKO, and Orton says, yeah, you know what? You're right. I know what I'll do. This is actually pretty clever. He says, I'll hit that son of a bitch with the three most devastating letters in sports entertainment, an R-K.
Bro.
And then Matt Riddle's music hits, which starts with bro.
So Riddle comes down and says, Randy, you're right.
Randy.
You don't have to explain yourself. I know why you hit me with the RKO. Randy says, I doubt that. Yeah. Riddle says, well, at school, I wasn't always the best, So it took me a hot second to realize that you were trying to teach me. I've been doing RKOs in your honor, so you had to come back and hit me with one to show me the proper way of doing it. Teach him a lesson. And he says, I've learned my lesson, and I was thinking they could give this team thing another chance. Randy, you need me in your corner against Omos, so let's bring back RK Bro. And before Orton can really answer, AJ and Omos interrupt. AJ says, how about RK? No.
No.
He says, I don't think anybody cares about why Orton RKO'd Riddle. Says, hey, Randy, maybe try RKOing yourself. It really doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. He says, last week his loss meant nothing, or his win had meant nothing. He had help. If it hadn't been for that turd Riddle, he wouldn't have won. But that's okay, because no one will save him from Omos. He will defang the Viper. But why should Omos have all the fun? He says, I'm sick and tired of hearing Riddle saying, bro, I want to break his jaw so the doctors have to wire it shut. And let's do a match right now in the ring. And Riddle says, okay, Skipper. Still calls him Skipper.
Yeah, that's a good bit.
He accepts, says, with Randy in his corner, he's unbeatable. He says, come down and take this thrashing at the hands of RK Bro. So that match was next, Riddle versus AJ Styles.
And the problem, of course, is that at the very start of this match, before the bell even rang, Orton was like, no. And he walks away. He seems a little bit conflicted, but he ends up leaving. Leaving Riddle pretty sad, deflated before this match. So the finish saw Riddle going up top for a floating bro. It was a good match. It lasted a while. This is my Jack Spade notes. Good match. And then so Riddle goes up top to try to hit a floating bro, but of course the monster Omos is down there, and Riddle just can't take his eyes off him because he's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
AJ's able to take advantage of that, hits him, lowers him into position from the top into Styles Clash position, hits said Styles Clash for the win, and then we find out in a backstage interview after this next. So after that, we just get the carbon copy Nikki Cross interview. I am not going to talk about it again because it was the exact same thing as last week.
Yeah,
it's a standard Nikki Cross interview.
Have confidence in yourself. You just need to bring the courage out, and you can almost be a superhero. It's worked for me. It can work for you. Tonight, I have confidence that I can beat Rhea and hold on to the Roberts title at SummerSlam. Yeah, so after that, we had a Riddle interview. He says when Randy was gone for 2 months, he didn't give up on RK Bro. And even when Randy hit him with an RKO last week, he didn't give up on them. But tonight, he says, Randy walked out, left me by myself. I just feel so sad.
I'm sad, bro. Yeah, he really did seem sad.
He did seem sad.
After that, we had Nikki Cross versus Rhea Ripley. Charlotte was on commentary here. Rhea ended up getting the win with the Riptide. And after the match, Nikki attacked Charlotte after Charlotte's standing there mocking her and doing the fake crying thing. Mm-hmm. Charlotte gets in the ring to kind of escape her. And then Rhea attacks Charlotte. They kind of gang up on her. And Charlotte goes running out of the ring. We picked that story up a little bit later on in the show. But first, we've got Jinder and his dudes backstage. He says, I've afforded both of you the privilege of being on Raw under my learning tree. Drew is still standing. You have failed me. Whenever I get close, he pulls out his sword and he threatens to dismember me.
He threatens my limbs and your lives.
And your lives. He says, tonight, you two in a handicap match against Drew. This is our last chance to get his sword. And at SummerSlam, without Angela, he will crumble.
I know. It's pretty great.
I love Jinder, man. I think he's terrific.
Yeah, Jinder could be pretty fun. Next, we have an MVP interview talking about Goldberg and Lashley at SummerSlam, so you can expect two of the most explosive forces WWE history face-to-face. Oh, sorry, that's tonight. Just 5 days before SummerSlam, the last time Goldberg was on Raw, Goldberg speared him. It was insult to himself and Lashley does not take insults lightly. He says, that could happen at SummerSlam or it could happen tonight.
I noticed that MVP was getting some flack on Twitter for specifically requesting unseasoned chicken breast from the intern who was going to go get his food.
Yeah.
He says unseasoned chicken breast. That made me kind of laugh.
That is funny. I noticed that too.
So then we had Drew versus Veer and Shanky. Drew pretty much dominated this. Hits a Claymore to Shanky after hitting Veer with the future shock, getting him out of the way. So afterwards, of course, Jinder tries to approach and Drew gets Angela out. And he gets on the mic, and he's so good, man. He's getting so over with, playing up with the crowd. He says, hey, Jinder, you're not going to have your goons at your side at SummerSlam. And he says, oh, what's that, Shanky? You want to say something? So he kneels down next to Shanky, and he acts like Shanky's trying to give him some
because Shanky's unconscious still at this point.
Yeah. He says, what's that? You want to say you're sorry and you wish you could be as confident and sexy and badass like Drew McIntyre? You realize the error of your ways and you hope Drew beats Jinder at SummerSlam? He says, what did you think would happen, Jinder? You screwed my chance, my only chance to get that WWE title back and Money in the Bank. You know I had to hurt you. I'm going to maim you. I'm going to humiliate you at SummerSlam. I'm going to create a moment at your expense. But maybe I'm being overconfident. Let's ask San Antonio. By a show of hands, who here thinks Jinder's going to win? Of course, nobody raised their hands.
Yeah.
And he says, who knows Drew is going to win? And he says, all my confidence points are on me, Drew McIntyre, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
he says,
punctuates that
Drew
promo.
says the votes are in. It appears, Jinder, that you are screwed. After that, we get Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville backstage. Charlotte walks in, and she says, I was just out there doing my job, and Nikki attacked me. And Sonya says, well, you got two options here. Either you wait till Saturday to get payback at SummerSlam, or you find yourself a partner. We'll sanction a tag match for you. And Charlotte goes, no, doesn't work for me, brother. I don't play well with others.
Me, brother.
And Sonya says, take it or leave it.
I got to appreciate that. Hard ball.
Yes, exactly. We got the same Elias video package we got last week, but we get another one later on.
Yeah. Next up, we had the debut of Moist TV. I don't care. I love Morrison.
Yeah,
I
Morrison's
think
pretty
absolutely great. We had Moist TV. He says, last week we all experienced a moist miracle when Miz stood up on healthy legs and ran away. I haven't talked to him in a week, but like me, you're probably all thirsty for answers. And so we have the Miz. So Miz goes for a hug. Morrison isn't quite having it. But Miz gets on the mic and he says, I'm so happy to be your first guest on Moist TV. And Morrison said, let's get straight to the hard-hitting journalist questions here. Miz, what's your favorite movie? And Miz says, well, of course, the Marine franchise, all those Marine movies I was in. He was like, oh, yeah, solid acting in those movies. Speaking of acting, were you pretending to be injured?
Yeah.
And Miz says, hold on a second. Have I ever lied to you?
No.
No. Correct. Have I ever used you?
No.
Correct. Would I ever fake an injury?
Nah.
Well, what do you mean, well?
Maybe.
Miz, yeah, he says, well, everyone here knows I'm not a liar. And then Damian Priest interrupts. Priest comes out, says, I don't know what moist C is, but I like it a lot better than this clown's must see. He says, before I go to SummerSlam and whoop Sheamus in front of the world and wild out in Vegas as the new U.S. champion, why don't you ask Miz the question, why did you pretend for weeks and let Morrison push you around in a wheelchair? And Miz hits back and he says, you're the reason my knee was injured, Priest. I've never been injured in 16-year career. So I had my first injury. I didn't know what to expect. You know, I'd been cleared a few weeks, but Morrison's like, whoa, wait a second. You were cleared weeks ago? And then Miz uses your line of time being a flat circle and says, you know, weeks, days, I don't know what it was. And Morrison says, if you weren't hurt, why didn't you tell me? And he says, you know what he's doing? He's doing what I do on Miz TV, spinning everything around back to us. He says, Morrison says, well, what better way to make the first episode of Moist TV special but to have a match? And Miz is about it because he thinks it's going to be Priest versus Morrison. But instead, Morrison does the old swerve and says, Priest versus The Miz.
Yep.
And Miz starts to protest, and Priest pushes him in the kiddie pool.
Well, the Priest says, get a ref out here. And that match happens next.
Yeah.
Sheamus walks out to join the commentary table. Meanwhile, Miz rolls out of the ring. He's looking for a high five from Sheamus. Sheamus no-sells, and Priest comes behind Miz, hits him with the bell clap. So Miz gets back in the ring. It's like, oh, my knee. He's just faking it. Eventually, he gets the upper hand for a little bit. And so he's looking for a dripstick from Morrison. Morrison turns his back on Miz and walks up the ramp. So Miz turns around right into a clothesline from Priest. Priest follows with the bro kick while he's staring at Sheamus for the win. Afterwards, Sheamus grabs the mic, says, Priest, that was disrespectful. Calls him a disrespectful scumbag for using his own move. Says, enjoy the moment because it's going to be your last moment in the spotlight. Says, this U.S. title won't touch your paws. He says, I may have a broken face, but I'm done with you. You won't even have a head on your shoulders. Then we get Eva Marie and Doudrop backstage. Eva tells Doudrop she really blew it last week. And Doudrop says, well, it was Lily, I swear. And Eva cuts her off, says, I don't care what you think you saw. You blew it. But luckily for her, the evolution is all about second chances. But so before I take care of Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam, how about you take a trip to the playground and handle Lily? Essentially, take Lily from the playground and bring it to Eva Marie.
So backstage, Miz catches up with Morrison. He's mad. Morrison says, I was hurt. My tag partner wasn't there. And as they make up, the New Day are behind them. And they have a whiteboard, and they say, buy our shirt. The Miz and Morrison end up making up. They're okay. They're on the same page. After that, we had Alexa's playground. Alexa is talking to Lily about how crappy Eva Marie and the Evolution is. Doudrop shows up. She grabs Lily and says, Alexa says, I wouldn't do that. And then Doudrop stares at Lily. That obviously has some effect on her. She gives her back, freaks out, and leaves. Backstage, before Mace and Mansoor have a match, we get a picture-in-picture earlier in the day thing where Ali says, hey, you did real good last week. And Mansoor's like, hey, I just tried to have your back. And Ali says, well, I don't need you to have my back, but you have so much to learn. So this week, as you take on Mace, I'm going to have your back.
Yeah,
so
I'll be watching.
We had that match next. Yeah.
Yes, Mace has the advantage early on. He misses an elbow drop. So Mansoor's got a bit of a comeback happening. He's looking for a sunset flip. Mace just kind of sits down on Mansoor for cover. Ali drop kicks Mace to reverse the pin, so Mansoor has the cover. He gets the win, and it's pretty great. The efficiency with which they're telling this story, it's like, why can't they apply this to like all their matches?
I know.
It's got an obvious through line. You get what's going on from match to match. The story beats make sense.
And
it's
even
like
though they're facing the
same,
even though they're facing the same guys, it's advancing their own story.
Yep.
I like it a lot. I think it's really good. I liked how clever that finish to that match was.
It was good. After that, we had AJ and Omos with the interview. Omos is asked how he's going to defeat Randy. AJ starts to answer, and then Omos is like, no, bring the mic over here. Says Orton sees himself as a legend killer. But tonight, he's going to kill a legend killer that is Randy Orton. And AJ says, yeah, Omos is going to be new legend killer. He says, I beat Riddle, so I'm the moron killer. And tonight, they're going to celebrate the death of RK Bro.
After that, we had Orton versus Omos. Omos, of course, as he does in most matches, sort of just dominates via sheer power. Randy eventually gets an opportunity, though, for an RKO. Omos just pushes him, which sends him out of the ring as the ref sort of has his sights on Omos. AJ kicks Orton, but the ref actually does notice that, so he DQs Omos. AJ then takes that opportunity to get Orton up, rolls him into the ring. Omos takes him back to the outside on the other side, and they throws him over the barricade. They bring him back in, get him ready for a phenomenal forearm. Riddle comes down, makes the save, takes out AJ with a nasty-looking V-trigger, sends him out of the ring. Omos is going to get back in, but he notices how effed up AJ looks, so he's like, I can't go in there to attack Riddle when my buddy's out here. He's all messed up. I got to take him back. So he puts him on his shoulder. He leaves. Orton gets on the mic, and he says, you know what? In the past, I did respect you, talking to Riddle. He says, it doesn't mean I respect you today. But after everything you've done, after I walked out on you, after I hit the RKO on you, here you are. You still have my back. So guess what? Kid, you have my respect. RK Bro is back. Riddle offers up his hand. Orton takes it, then gives him a big hug, and that shocks Riddle. Riddle says, Randy, you make me so happy. But you know what this also means? At SummerSlam, RK Bro is going to challenge AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Crowd goes crazy for that shit.
Yeah. We go to gorilla position. We get a Jeff Hardy interview, and he's asked, why do you want another match with Karrion Kross? And he says, I'm angry because Kross attacked me after he won. Hardy says, I fell and I prayed to my higher power, and it was told him that Kross made a big mistake by disrespecting him. He says, Kross is a dangerous man, but I've lived off danger my whole career. So I'm bringing it all tonight. Kross better check his hourglass because his 50 minutes are almost done. And then Karrion Kross comes behind, lays out Jeff Hardy, says tick-tock, makes his way down the ring. That match was next. The match was shorter than Jeff Hardy's promo.
It was.
Jeff Hardy got a couple moves off, calls for the twist of fate. Kross counters that with a cross jacket. Hardy fades and then taps out.
Yeah, so he won this rubber match here to kick off his Raw debut. Still not very strong. After that, backstage, Eva Marie giving Doudrop some shit for not returning with Lily.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "You know what this is like? This is like you. This is disrespectful. It's like you walking up to me and slapping me in the face. Do you know what that feels like?" And then she slaps Doudrop, and then she slaps her a second time.
I know, she did twice.
Oof, rude.
And then says, well, "That's what it feels like."
That's what it feels like.
Rude.
After that, we get this great little bit where Reggie is in the park, and he's talking about how his life of acrobatics got started. He says, "I didn't have the best childhood growing up. It was a pretty rough childhood, but I came here and I wanted to see how I could push myself to the limit." And as he's doing this, you got jackass R-Truth sneaking up on him, wearing, what was he wearing? Like sort of a grass like a hunter's outfit.
Yeah.
And then Tozawa, I think, was like posing as like a garbage can.
Yeah, that's correct.
And they try to attack him. Of course, Reggie does all sorts of backflips, swinging on a tree, tripping up Tozawa, and then he does, which is like all that stuff's like, oh, that's cool.
Where
Then
the flip over the car was insane.
Flipped over the car. That was nuts.
That was nuts.
And he says, "Too easy." He gets in the car and he drives off. And Truth and Tozawa start arguing about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. We get another Elias video package. This time he's carrying a tombstone. He says, "I've had #1 hit records, songs about every city, fans eating out of the palm of my hand. Music didn't fail me. It just wasn't enough." That would be stood for Walk with Elias. But then he plants the tombstone in the ground. It says Elias with, I don't know if it's kayfabe or real, here he was born to 2021. He says Elias is dead.
So you had a pretty cool theory in our pre-show. What do you think is going to go down with Elias?
It's one of two things. I think it'd be cool if his idea was like, okay, music didn't fail me, it just wasn't enough. If he wants the adulation of the WWE universe, maybe he'll start like a cult or something. Or maybe he's going to fake his own death like Elvis.
Yeah.
Like the rumors about Elvis. Elvis is actually dead. But, people thought he faked his death for a number of years. And maybe he'll put on some weight. He'll transform himself. It's like Mac in that one season of It's Always Sunny,
Yeah. Yeah, he got fat, yeah.
Yeah. I think that'd be pretty funny.
That would be pretty funny. I like the idea. I like both those. Both those are really good ideas. Yeah, that could be interesting. He fakes his own death, and and then like he shows up like in the background of interviews on the .com or on Raw or whatever. But like he's like way in the back. It's not like Buddy Murphy was like accidentally. Like he's intentionally and like, oh wait, is that Elias? And he's reborn as like Samson or something like that. Yeah. That could be. That's all good stuff.
Then after that, we got Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S.H versus Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax. So I guess Charlotte was convinced that this tag match should happen. This was her only recourse. So Nikki is isolated early. She eventually gets the tag to Rhea. So Rhea goes on a run against Charlotte, but then she misses a drop kick. Charlotte tags in Nia. Nia hits Rhea with a Samoan drop, climbs up to the second rope, and then she's about to hit a move off there. Charlotte tags herself in. Boots Nikki off the apron, hits Rhea with natural selection for the win. It was a pretty short tag match.
Yeah, it was pretty short, yeah.
And then Charlotte just walks out, and she's like talking trash to Nia, and both Nikki and Rhea are like selling the effects of Charlotte's devastating moves. So Charlotte standing tall to end that storyline last night.
Yeah, nobody's happy with Charlotte at the end of that. No. After that, we had an AJ Styles interview. He says, what chance does RK Bro really have? That's the question posed. And he says, we've beaten every team we've been against. There's nobody left. It's just me and Omos. 5 days till SummerSlam. And mark my words, Randy Orton is going to end up despising Riddle within those 5 days. Guaranteed. Then we have our Bob Lashley versus Goldberg face-to-face.
Yeah.
Goldberg comes out first, introduces his kid, says, you being able to get online watching videos of who Goldberg doesn't cut it. I want you to be there front row to experience who your dad is, who Goldberg really is. So MVP and Lashley come out. MVP says, you thought you could be the Goldberg of old. For the first time in your career, you've run into a guy more dominant than you, the almighty Bobby Lashley. As they approach, Lashley gets in. He gets on the mic and he says, Goldberg, you could have saved yourself from the embarrassment given what I could do to you. He calls Goldberg stubborn and hard-headed. He says, and now you think you're playing by house rules, but the house always wins. I'm going to leave you with just enough to be able to tell your friends and family that you had the privilege to have your career ended by Lashley. Goldberg's lone retort for that is, that's bullshit. And then Lashley's like, yeah, I know. It's like, okay, so you can say it. There's more. They should have used, if they had one bullshit to use, they should have used it in the Orton Riddle stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or had Nikki say it. That'd be rad if Nikki said it.
Oh, that'd be something else.
So Lashley's like, oh, it's bullshit, is it? So he goes over to MVP, gives him his title, acts a little nonchalant, totally telegraphs that he's about to attack Goldberg, which he does, but Goldberg evades the lariat attempt and instead gives him a spear and stands tall. And then his son jumps the barricade and walks off into the sunset up the ramp with Goldberg, and Goldberg's totally going to lose that match.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
I want to answer some questions. Yeah.
Yeah, let's answer some questions.
All right. Beans from the East here on Twitch says, with the success baseball had with the Field of Dreams game, W is said to have initial discussions on a few off-site events in 2022. What would be some good ideas for them to go with? Bring back climbing the corporate tower. Do some sort of match at Titan Tower. So I thought Money in the Bank when it was there was pretty fun.
I think this was a WrestleVotes tweet, if I'm not mistaken. I saw that this morning saying that they might do some stuff. Yeah, man. I liked I'd say you know what, let's do a Raw or a SmackDown from in Vince McMahon's backyard.
Oh, that's good.
Do something like that. That'd be fun. Do something it'd be cool. What if they were able to close down Times Square for an episode of Raw? It'd be very ambitious. Very ambitious.
This is actually, now that I think about it, this is what I want. A barge in international waters.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
That's you've been wanting to see that for a little while now.
I have.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty good. That'd be good.
I have.
I'm going to say at the Torch.
That's good.
The LA Coliseum. Yeah,
what a neat setup that was.
They just did that.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Should I go to the San Jose New Japan show? You're going to be in Disneyland, but it's going to be, I could just hop the train, go catch some New Japan professional wrestling.
Do, man. Go
Front row is $300.
I mean, it's cheaper than a WWE show.
Right? Wouldn't that be fun, being front row at a New Japan show? $300. Hop the train.
I mean, we were second row for the second Long Beach show, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'll see. Could be fun. Any other friendos out there going to go to the San Jose show? Mox is going to be there.
Yeah, Jay White's
maybe
the
knife pervert. Yeah. Ospreay will probably be there.
Yeah, I would think so. Mr. Bolthouse with the sub. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Smurf Galloway says, just on the most handsome wrestlers, how do you all in the Church of Friendos forget Roman? That's a good point. Roman's a very good-looking man.
Yeah, handsome man. Night by Night says, this morning you wake up to discover your skin has a scaly texture and bright purple with green accents. You think you may be turning into Barney the dinosaur, and you're not sure how to stop it. What Raw superstar do you consult with to get ideas on reverting to your proper form?
Jeff Hardy. I would say, who is this, this person that you're praying to? Because he didn't specify who his God was.
His higher power, yeah.
His higher power. So I'd be like, who's the higher power? It's like, it's Vince McMahon. Like, that's underwhelming.
Yeah. What a underwhelming reveal, Jeff Hardy.
Right? Or Alexa. She's got supernatural powers.
John Morrison. Because maybe I forgot about it, and I look at, maybe I was out partying or something like that. And I passed out, and then some people just drew. Okay. And so I just need, hey, hit me with the dripstick and see if this will wash off.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Nemo says, as of today, Loki has been Larson Libre champion for 2 years now, but only has 4 defenses due to COVID. So what's better, a long reign or a reign with more defenses?
I mean, if you have that belt, I'm not speaking, this isn't specific to Loki, but just if a wrestler has a belt for, like Dean Ambrose, he was U.S. champ for like a year, defended like 3 times.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And that was, and that was a situation where he just didn't defend it. It's not like he wasn't there. It's not like there was a pandemic happening. He just didn't, creative didn't have him defend it.
Yeah.
And I think, I kind of feel like that reign is somewhat looked down upon because he wasn't defending the title. But, if you have I'd rather have a reign that's 6 to 8 months where I'm a fighting champion, have some really good defenses, put on some good matches, rather than having a belt for a year or a year and a half and only defending it like 5 times.
Yeah, I think if you look at like how many defenses did Naito have for his double championship before he lost it to Evil? Did he have
not a ton because there was a pandemic?
It was pandemic, but it's like, oh yeah, he had it for a year.
I think he had the one. He had the one at the anniversary show after Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's strength of opponent. Like if Kofi Kingston in his 6-month reign had beaten a Roman Reigns, I think that people would look a little bit differently on his title run. And if he had a good match against Lesnar. But yeah, I think to me it's sort of like strength of your title defenses as well.
Totally. That's a lot of it. Yeah. White Brownie, after the draft, should WWE consider redesigning both the Universal and WWE titles?
No, you gotta just stick with it. Eventually it'll have that legacy love. So yeah. I think the title looks fine. I kind of like the titles, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're all right. They're fine. D Hayes, we know Randy is going to turn on Riddle, but how big of a star, would it make Riddle if he turned and later became the Legend Killer?
That's a great question. It's kind of tricky, isn't it? Like, you want to mess with Riddle in that way? Like, I don't know if that dude should ever be a heel because it would just be completely anti to what he is, unless there was a really well told story leading up to it where he's like, man, I've been with Randy so long. I understand how to be the apex predator now. And the only way I can do that is by attacking Randy before he can attack me. But I don't know if the crowd would be into that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Dan Daniels, is there anyone in your life, like a distant relative or whatever, that you would RKO out of affection? Hilton.
That's the best answer. He would appreciate that. Yeah. It's 100% Hilton.
It's 1,000% Hilton.
Yeah, that's a really good one. All right, that's going to go ahead and do it for us today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.